Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Liz and this is Let's Get Lizical, where we do everything card making. Today we're going to be making some fun snow globes without any specialty dies. We're still going to be using dies, but you do not need to buy specific snow globe dies for this project. Well, for either of these projects, I'm going to be doing two different ones. Today we'll be doing a faux shaker and be doing like a standard snow globe, and we're going to be using circle and arch dies that I have here. These ones I bought on Amazon. I do want to get a better set eventually, but these were just quick and simple enough for me to get at the time. So I will be cutting one as a circle and putting it on top of a craft paper with Mama Elephant's reindeer game set. I think we might do a couple little reindeer in the scene, and it will be more of a, it comes off the card. And then for the arch one, I'm going to be using this Holiday Besties stamp set. It was gifted to me. I'm not part of any of the Spellbinders kits. I have debated it, but the problem is I don't necessarily like everything that comes out, so I do like to be able to pick and choose. And then these are usually ready for individual sale the following month. So this came out in October 24, so it would have been available November 24 if you just wanted to buy like the stamp set. And it came with coordinating dies. So she gifted to me those as well, and it cuts out the sentiments, which I just noticed, which is good, because I think I'm going to use this one and then just this snowman for this one, but we're going to cut it out in an arch style. We are going to use this piece of acetate I've had laying around. This was me practicing with the holographic sticker paper that I bought. I have tons of it. I have like a whole one of those accordion folder things that I bought from the dollar store, full of just different styles of these. So we'll be doing that with some like navy-ish cardstock, and I cut two pieces, so I'll go into that once I do start the voiceover. But yeah, so we'll pretty much be doing that. There's also some other tools if you want to make your bases of your snow globes a little either textured or more wood-like. I have this embossing folder. This is from Michaels. It came in like a 2-pack, I think, with a stamp set, or it just came with a 2-pack. It was this and another one for sure. Years ago. They don't probably have those anymore. This is the wooden planks from Simon. This one's kind of a bit more of a floor texture, but it would still work as well. And I also have this wood planks stamp, which just adds some like wood texture. So you could add these if you kind of want like a wooden base to your snow globe. If you want, you can cut them out of like foil cardstock and do gold and silver, which I did debate, but I didn't want to go too crazy with it. So I just kind of grabbed some craft papers. Since this background will be on Kraft already, I'll use the darker brown, and maybe for the blue one I'll use the standard Kraft for the base for that one. And all we're going to do for the bases is just cut a strip straight across, and maybe angle the sides, or we can make them straight up and down. Maybe for this one we'll just straight up and down. I always angle the sides, so we'll see how that looks on that. And then maybe we can just like round the corners, bottom corners or something like that to make it look a little bit nicer. But yeah, so we're gonna build some snow globes without specialty dies today, which I do still have a lot of. I'm like obsessed with snow globe cards and the dies, so I have a lot of them and many sizes. I think I have all of the long fawn snow globe sets, whether they're this big or this big, oops, I probably can't see that, like, so every size from between there and there, tags, regular, you name it, I probably have it from Lawn Fawn for snow globes. But I wanted to show you guys how you can do it without having all those extra products. You don't even really need these types of dies. You can cut them by hand if you want. If you have circle dies, like even if you don't have arch dies, you could use the circle dies. You would just want to make sure that you cut it. Maybe these ones were connected, so they're a little bit easier to see where the center was. So if you cut it so that it comes down halfway, and then you can continue cutting it either with an X-Acto knife or your trimming tools, guillotine trimmer, whatnot, and just go straight from the sides. You could use a roll of tape and kind of like trace out your image. And then if you wanted to make it the arch style, you would just take a ruler and go straight down from the widest point and then cut it off at the bottom. So you don't even necessarily need these tools. You can do it without as well. It's just obviously a lot more work. So we're just gonna use basic nesting dies for this, and then we will see how that goes. I've not tried it yet, so we are learning today. So again, this is for my holiday card series that I do every month. So it's hashtag HCHJ2026 if you want to tag that, as well as at Let's Get Lizical over on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, so that I can see your creations if you want to join along with me. The last couple of years I had prompt lists. This year I'm just gonna wing it. So no prompt list for this year. Do as your heart desires, and my heart desires to do some snow globes this month. So let's get to it. Hey guys, voiceover Liz here. So I'm just gonna get started with the card bases first, starting with the easiest one. They're both actually fairly easy, but I wanted to get this faux shaker card that we're doing out of the way. This one can actually be like a 2-for-1. You can kind of use the first one as a shaker if you use the negative of the arch like I'm using for the faux shaker, and then if you use the positive part, you can also make like a second snow globe card, and then you would just use kind of like what we're doing for the second card, where we're kind of like building that snow globe on top of the surface instead of insetting it as like a cutout, which we're doing for the first one here. And for the second card, where we're just using the circle die, I cut that out of like a light blue and a white so that I could get like snowy hills out of it. You could ink blend, mask off, color it with markers instead, whatever you wanted to do depending on how low profile you want to keep this card. This is 65-pound cardstock from Michael's, which is what I use for all my colors. So it's not super thick or anything, and it's not too bad adding layers. But anyway, so for this first one, I'm just going to back that window cutout with the holographic sticker paper that I have stuck to a sheet of acetate to keep it clear, which is one of the reasons I kind of bought this stuff, because I saw it done on another video and thought it was kind of a cool idea. So I have this in like probably 7 different prints in the holographic, and I really like this like starry speckled sky kind of one. This one's my favorite. So what I did was I cut a hill for it in the background. I just used a pencil, kind of drew out the lines. I don't like to freehand it. I like to have some kind of guide to follow because I find my cuts are a lot smoother that way. So I did that, and I just words are escaping me today. I erased whatever pencil was left over and just, cleaned up that edge a little bit. And it was super simple. And then I took all the release paper off the foam tape, and then I realized I wanted to add some like controlled snow in the background. So I'm adding it to this panel. And then I'm going to add some more onto the front of the card later, on top of the acetate. But for now, we're just leaving it on the inside. I made sure I didn't press in the center there because it is still wet when I assembled it. So I'm just kind of going around the edges and making sure that that foam tape is stuck. And then here I am adding in the snow on the second layer. I think it's because one of them did kind of like smush onto the acetate. It got pressed down somehow. So I decided to go over that spot, and then I decided to add a few more. It does add quite a bit of a dimension as well to the card because you have like 2 layers of snow plus the glitter, and it just adds like a little bit of a 3-dimensional look to it. And then for the second card here, I again just drew out a little swoopy hill, and then I'm gonna add some controlled snow to the background of this. And then I'm picking out the Kraft paper for the navy background and the darker brown for the craft paper background, like I mentioned before. And I'm just using some clear embossing ink to add the texture, because I find that it adds just like a very subtle texture to it without having it too stark. Like right now they look pretty dark, but that's because they're still wet. But once they dry back, it's kind of a little bit more tonal, and it's a little bit more of a subtle like wood plank print. But I love the effect, so it's the way I just like to keep things subtle. Just use your clear embossing ink, because it's like a bit of a watermark ink, so when it dries it kind of somewhat, I guess, stains the cardstock so that it just stays a bit darker and looks a little bit more, I guess, wet always. So anyway, I decided that I was only gonna ink the snowman on this. There's 2 like sets of like critter stamps, but they each hold 2, and the dies are all separate, which shouldn't make sense to me. Like if you're gonna attach the stamps, just attach the dies together so that they can, even if they still cut them out individually, it cuts them together. Like I feel like that would be the point of connecting the stamps. Otherwise I don't know why they had these stamps connected and not just separated, so that you could use the individual images. I know they're meant to go together, but like that's not always how you want to use your supplies, so it's good to have other options to choose from. And I'll probably just cut them apart. I wasn't originally going to cut them apart because I thought the die would have also cut them together at the same time, so it'd be a little bit easier just to ink one of them and not the other. It was pretty easy to do it anyway without having to detach them, but I think it just easier for placement if you're doing multiple different images on a sheet like I did here, to have it so that you can just place one of them and not have to do both. Because not that I'm wasting the cardstock on the right there, but like I could have moved it over a little bit more, or put like the reindeer in where that bunny was. So in the future I might separate them, but for now we'll just leave them together, because again, like the dies don't cut them out together, which would have been more of a bonus than still having to individually place them like you do for this set. But the set's still cute, and it does have the sentiments with coordinating dies, which is amazing. I love it when stamp companies do that, because it's just a lot easier to cut out those sentiments and not have to fussy cut around them. I really do not like to fussy cut, because I don't find I get a smooth cut always. So I would rather use either my scan and cut or like a die when it comes to sentiments. And sometimes with the scan and cut you have to like attach letters if they're not together, because it kind of recognizes them as individual images. Sometimes you gotta play around with a pencil and maybe just like trace around the sentiment. It's just a little bit more extra work. So again, I would prefer just to have dies for sentiments like that. And then anything like simple images like the reindeer, I'm going to cut out in my scan and cut after, because I don't have the dies for this set. And for these, my scan and cut mat is losing its tackiness, so it kind of messed up the one reindeer a little bit. It didn't like cut it in any like wrong spots or anything, but I did need to finish cutting with a pair of scissors rather than trying to put it through the machine again, which you see me doing here. It was just the top of the head that got a little messed up, so it was fine just to have to fix that one little spot. I'll have to put a new mat in the machine soon. But yeah, so anyway, for the bases, I originally cut this darker brown one fairly thick, but I thought it was a little too thick, so I ended up going down to 1 inch in width, and then I kind of like lined it up on my mat so that there was a little bit of an overhang at the bottom there. And then I was just going to glue a little bit at the bottom. I just kind of like lined it up on my mat, and the way that the circle goes, I lined it up to the like up a 1/2 inch from the bottom. And then I rounded all the corners with the 4mm round portion on my little punch here, and it helped like finish it off a little bit. It also helps go with that like more round look of the overall snow globe. I really like this one. It's pretty cute. This is something you can probably easily mass produce because you're just cutting simple shapes. Obviously you would have to cut 2 circles for every card if you want to add the snowbank. And then you would cut just strips of the wood grain texture. So you could stamp that whole 6x6 background and then cut them into 1x6 inch strips. And then I think this was a little over 3 inches wide or something like that. So you could probably get like a dozen strips out of just one piece of cardstock and make a ton of these. You just obviously again have to cut out the circles as well. And then if you do a couple of simple little images, and then if you're going to stamp the sentiment on the bottom of the card, you could do all that first. If you have your placement, I would do like one card as an example and then use that kind of as like a template. So here I stamped and cut it separately, but I did it in the same cardstock as the base, so it kind of blends in. But I totally could have just stamped that right on the base, but I don't always like doing that when a card is finished and putting it in my Misty and then stamping afterwards, because sometimes ink gets smudged. And that kiwi dragon card I made the other day, completely in the garbage. I tried to fix something on it and then it just made it worse, and then I kept trying to fix it and it was just making it worse and more worse, so I ended up throwing it out. So we'll try it again, and then maybe I'll post the photo. Maybe I'll try it with a different technique and show you how it looks. Maybe I'll do like stamping or ink blending or something like that. But anyway, for this other one I did I think a 3/4 inch base, and then again I rounded all the corners and I cut it to 3 inches in width as well because it fit this arch, and then just added a sentiment on it. Nothing fancy for today. I didn't even add any highlights, and I did add glossy accents to the noses and the medallions on their collars, which I forgot to color in, but I did that off camera. And then for the snowman I added some glossy accents to his nose and the buttons on his chest. But yeah, those are pretty much our cards for today, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe because I'd love to have you here. And until next time, thanks guys. Bye.